Right now, if you're lying awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, you probably reach for your phone, you check the time, you feel a flash of anxiety about how tired you'll be tomorrow. This feels like a modern problem, but it isn't. And the way our ancestors actually handled it might completely change how you think about your own sleepless nights. Start with the assumption almost everyone carries. We assume humans are supposed to sleep for 8 straight hours, uninterrupted, all in one block. If you wake up in the middle of the night, something feels wrong. You call it insomnia. Here's the problem. That assumption is barely 200 years old. Historian A. Roger Ekirch spent over 15 years digging through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, and he found something strange repeating over and over. People weren't describing one sleep, they were describing two. References to a first sleep and a second sleep show up constantly in old documents. People would go to bed shortly after dusk, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, then wake up naturally in the middle of the night. Not from stress, not from a disorder. It was simply expected. So what did they do with that time? This is where it gets interesting. This waking period, sometimes called the watch, wasn't wasted or anxious. People prayed. They talked quietly with a spouse in the dark. Some got up and did small chores, checked on animals, or tended a dying fire. Others simply lay in bed, half awake, letting their minds wander before drifting into a second sleep that would last until dawn. Ekirch found something else, too. Physicians of the time occasionally recommended the waking period for a specific purpose, conceiving children, since people were rested from their first sleep but not yet groggy from morning. Now here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. This isn't just historical trivia. It has been tested in a lab. In the early 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an experiment where participants were placed in conditions mimicking ancient winter nights, roughly 14 hours of darkness a day with no artificial light. Within just a few weeks, their sleep patterns split on their own. They fell asleep a few hours after dark, woke for 1 to 3 hours in the middle of the night, calm and alert, then fell back into a second sleep until morning. Nobody trained them to do this. Their bodies simply reverted to it once artificial light was removed. So, if segmented sleep was the default for most of human history, what changed it? The answer is disturbingly simple: light. Before artificial lighting existed, night was night, dense, dark, and long, especially in winter. There was little reason to stay up, and long stretches of darkness naturally encouraged this two-phase pattern. But starting in the late 1600s and accelerating dramatically after gas lighting and then electric lighting spread through cities, night stopped being empty, streets stayed lit, homes stayed lit, bedtimes crept later and later. Historian Craig Koslowski, who has written extensively about the history of nighttime in Europe, described the shift as nothing less than a colonization of the night, a term he uses to capture how artificial light didn't just extend our waking hours, it fundamentally reorganized how humans related to darkness itself. As nights got shorter and bedtimes got later, that middle-of-the-night waking window began to disappear. People simply didn't have time for it anymore. Within a couple of generations, segmented sleep faded from cultural memory almost entirely. By the 20th century, doctors and scientists had stopped studying it and started treating consolidated one-block sleep as the biological default, the normal that modern sleep medicine is still built around today. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. If you wake up at 3 a.m. tonight, your body might not be malfunctioning. It might be doing exactly what human bodies did for the vast majority of our history. Of course, this doesn't mean modern insomnia isn't real, or that waking at night is always harmless. Stress, screens, and irregular schedules absolutely disrupt healthy sleep in ways our ancestors never dealt with. But the panic itself, that jolt of something is wrong with me the moment you open your eyes at 3 a.m., that specific anxiety is largely a modern invention, built on an assumption about sleep that's only a couple centuries old. Sleep researcher Matthew Walker has pointed out that clock watching during nighttime wakefulness is one of the most reliable ways to make the problem worse, precisely because it injects a stress response into what may otherwise be a completely natural pause. So the next time you find yourself awake in the dark, calm, not panicking, just quietly conscious, consider a different explanation than the one you've been taught. You're not broken. You're not failing at sleep. You might just be doing what humans have done for most of our existence, resting in two parts instead of one, with a quiet hour of darkness in between that the modern world simply erased. Right now, if you're lying awake at 3 a.m., remember this. For most of human history, this exact moment wasn't a disorder. It was just Tuesday night.